Ever wanted to drop a character into your game who can make kingdoms fall in love, curse armies with a whisper, and ride into battle in a chariot pulled by cats? Meet Freyja, goddess of love, war, wealth, and witchcraft, and the Norse pantheon's answer to why not all of the above? Hello all you wonderfully funky world builders, Funky Monkey here, and welcome to today's saga of beauty, magic and battle cries. For today I decided to take a short trip up north and come closer to our times. This story comes with a side of cat-drawn chariots, magical jewelry and just a touch of shape-shifting seduction. So grab your dice, pour a horn of mead and get ready to roll initiative, because Freyja doesn't just bless the battlefields, she owns that. We all love TTRPGs. Pathfinder, Dungeons & Dragons, Discworld, Daggerheart, or the myriad of other TTRPGs I've never heard of or just forgot to list, or whatever chaos your homebrew gods have cooked up. And if you're looking to build a goddess of power and love, you could use a standard romance deity. But if you want one who can slay with a glance and resurrect your campaign's plotline with pure charisma, you can go mythic. And for that, we turn to the ancient Norse, the original saga writers, whose tales prove that beauty, fury, and a little cat-powered sorcery can change the fate of worlds. Today's tale, Freyja, the Vanir witch queen, mistress of seiðr, chooser of the slain, and the divine embodiment of power wrapped in golden fire. Before we get started, I have a lovely little assistant here, Potato. Mango was running amok earlier today, but because this is my second take, I already filmed this whole video, but I forgot to actually record the audio. You unfortunately missed out on a lot of shenanigans because Mango was running wild, because although she ate and had treats, she didn't have enough treats. And now she's sleeping right over there. Maybe she'll come around and say hi later on, but I'm not gonna wake her up because she's gonna start all over again, and no, it's not wise. Now, before we get started, this is gonna be a tongue twister, so hope you don't mind if I don't always nail the pronunciation of the names in this tale. They are in Old Norse, and although I know you could do better, it's still a tongue twister for me, so I'm sure you'll forgive me. Now, let's get on, shall we? Freyja, Lady of Love, War and Magic. Freyja, meaning lady or mistress, stands as one of the most powerful and complex deities in Norse myth. Born among the Vanir, gods of fertility and fortune, she later joins the seiðr after their truce, bridging two divine worlds. Both enchanting and fearsome, Freyja rules over love, destiny, wealth, witchcraft, war and death. She rides a chariot pulled by cats, wears the radiant necklace Brisingamen, commands the art of seiðr, the Norse magic of fate, and claims half of all warriors who die in battle for her own whole. This story traces her origin, myths, symbols, and enduring influence, revealing how the goddess of gold and tears became one of the most fascinating figures in Norse legend and fantasy alike. Let's talk about origins and family. Freyja hails from Vanaheim, the realm of the Vanir gods who ruled over fertility, wealth and the natural worlds. She's the daughter of the sea god Njorthr and sister to Freyr, her twin counterpart in abundance and harvest. When the Vanir and the Aesir ended their war, Freyja and her family joined Odin's tribe as part of the peace deal. According to the Ynglinga saga, Odin made Freyja the priestess of sacrifices, and she, in turn, introduced the Aesir to seiðr, the powerful Norse magic of fate-weaving and prophecy. Her mother's identity changes depending on the source you are consulting. Sometimes she's the mysterious Nerthus, sometimes the frost giantess Skadi, but her divine blood is never in question. Freyja later marries Other, a god who disappears on endless journeys, leaving her to search the world, weeping gold tears. Some scholars think Other is another face of Odin himself, but whoever he is, his absence gives us one of Freyja's most poetic symbols, her golden tears. She and Other have two daughters, Hnoss and Gersimi, whose names both mean treasure, fitting for the goddess whose sorrow literally becomes gold. Many names and many faces. Freyja wasn't just one goddess, she was many. Hear me out. Across the Norse world, people called her by dozens of names, each revealing a different side of her power. In the Gylfaginning, Snorri lists some of them: Mardøl, Hörn, Sir, Geffen, and Vanadis. Each title tells a story. Mardøl translates as the sea bell, ties her to the ocean's shimmering beauty. Hörn connects her to flax, wedding, and the threads of fate. Sir, meaning sow, invokes her strength as a mother and protector. Geffen means the giver, reflecting her generosity and abundance. And Vanadis, meaning Lady of the Vanir, reminds us of her divine roots among the Vanir, the gods of life and prosperity. Many names, one truth. Freyja was a goddess who could shift between love and war, tenderness and terror, whatever her people needed for her to be. Freyja or Frigg, the divine mix-up. Here's where things get messy. Medieval writers couldn't always tell between Freyja and Frigg. Both ruled over love, home and hearth. Both spun the threads of fate, and both were married to wandering husbands who just had to disappear for mysterious god reasons. Even Snorri notices the overlap. He points out that Freyja's husband, Other, shares his name's root with Odin, meaning fury or ecstasy. So it's no surprise some scholars think Freyja and Frigg were once the same goddess, later split in two. But for our purposes, we'll treat them as separate. Frigg, queen of the gods and keeper of fate; Freyja, wild-hearted sorceress, lover and warrior. Think of them as divine sisters who share the same mythic DNA, but have very different vibes. Freyja's Hall and the Afterlife, or where heroes go for round 2. Move over, Odin, Valhalla isn't the only afterlife worth dying for. Freyja runs her own hall, Folkvangr, Field of the People, where half of the fallen warriors go to feast and rest. The poetic Edda says it plainly. Freyja gets first pick of the dead and Odin gets the leftovers. Her hall, Sesrumnir, translated as the many-seated, is said to be bright, vast and welcoming, a softer, more peaceful alternative to Odin's endless training montages. In the sagas, even mortal women speak of dining with Freyja, suggesting her afterlife isn't just for warriors but for anyone brave, loyal or beloved enough to catch her favor. In short, Valhalla is for the loud ones who die swinging, while Folkvangr is for the ones who fought with heart. War goddess and chooser of the slain. Freyja isn't just about love spells and gold tears, she's a full-blown war goddess. When the battle's done and the smoke clears, she claims half of the fallen for herself, sending the rest to Odin. Why? Because even in death, Freyja doesn't take orders. She rides into battle on a boar or in a chariot pulled by cats. Yes, little fluff balls of chaos. Spear in hand, calm as fate itself. Poets call blood Freyja's mead, hinting that she drinks in battle the way mortals drink at feasts. But where Odin revels in chaos, Freyja's warfare feels deliberate. She chooses with purpose, guided by her seer's sight and her unshakable command of destiny. In Norse myth, she's the quiet force who decides which heroes get remembered and which get forgotten. Mistress of magic, seiðr and sorcery. Before Odin became the all-seeing wanderer, he learned his magic from Freyja, and she didn't make it easy. Freyja mastered seiðr, a deep, trance-like magic of fate-weaving, shape-shifting, and prophecy. Think magic witchcraft mixed with mind-bending shamanism. She was the one who brought this craft from the Vanir to the Aesir, teaching the gods how to twist destiny's threads. Odin learned from her, but not without cost. Seiðr was seen as unmanly, so his mastery of it came with a stain of taboo. Freyja, though, she wielded it without shame. She's also a volva, a sorceress, who can read what's woven and rewrite it if she chooses to. Her magic isn't just spells, it's control, over love, over war, or what's coming next. Whether she's lending Loki her falcon cloak for a rescue mission or bending the will of kings, Freyja shows that power doesn't need to roar. Sometimes it just needs to whisper, and the world obeys. The necklace Brisingamen. Every goddess has her signature accessory. For Freyja, it's Brisingamen, the most dazzling necklace in the 9 realms, and the stuff of legend, scandal, and a little bit of shape-shifting mischief. According to the Sorla Thathr, 4 dwarves forged the necklace, and Freyja wanted it, and wanted it badly. The price for the necklace? A night spent with each of them. She agreed, secured the treasure, and wore it proudly. Later, Christian scribes tried to spin the tale a little, to moralize it, to make it less Norse and more Christian. But in Norse context, what Freyja did is not shameful, it's power. Freyja does what she must to claim beauty and magic for herself, and there's no need for apologies. Of course, Brisingamen doesn't stay put. Loki steals it either for Odin or just for chaos, and Heimdall has to fight him in seal form no less to win it back. The necklace shows up again when Thor cross-dresses as Freyja to retrieve his stolen hammer, proving that it's more than just jewelry, it's identity. To the Vikings, Brisingamen symbolized the shimmering beauty of the sky, the stars, the aurora, the treasure of creation itself. To storytellers today, is the perfect quest item, priceless, enchanted, and dripping with divine drama. Now let's talk about major myths involving Freyja. In the Poetic Edda, the giant Thrym steals Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, and demands Freyja's hand in marriage as a ransom. Loki brings the bad news to Thor, saying, "Thrym sits in his mound and has hidden your hammer deep underneath the earth. He'll only return it if Freyja agrees to marry him." When the gods ask Freyja to put on a bridal gown so they can get Mjolnir back, she absolutely loses it. Her fury shakes the whole of Asgard, and her necklace Brisingamen snaps apart from sheer outrage. "Call me mad for men if you must," she cries, "but I will never go to the land of the Jotnar," the giants. It's Heimdall who suggests a wild plan. Disguise Thor as Freyja, veil, dress, the whole shebang, and send him to get his hammer back. Thor grumbles but agrees, while Loki tags along disguised as his bridesmaid. MCU, start taking notes. At the wedding feast, Freytor is nearly given away by his appetite. Thor downs an entire ox and drinks mead by the barrel. Quick thinking, Loki covers for him, claiming that the bride hasn't eaten for 8 nights out of longing for her new husband. When Thrym proudly places Mjolnir on her lap to bless the union, Thor seizes the hammer and smashes the giant to dust. The tale is equal part comedy and chaos, a mythic reminder that even gods will cross-dress if that's what it takes to save the world. Another wild tale from the prose Edda is that called the Builder of Asgard's Wall. After a brutal war, the gods decide to rebuild Asgard's defenses and hire a mysterious mason. Not weird at all. A stranger who claims he can raise walls strong enough to keep out giants forever. His price? Well, nothing too outrageous, just Freyja, the sun and the moon. Of course, the gods agree. Somehow. but only if the job is finished within 1 winter. The builder accepts, and with the help of his mighty stallion Svathilfari, the work progresses faster than anyone thought possible. When the final stone's near completion, panic spreads throughout Asgard. The gods realize they might actually have to hand over the sun, the moon, and especially Freyja, the goddess of love and war, as payment. So, furious and desperate, they turn to Loki, the trickster who actually made the deal in the first place, and order him to fix it. You broke it, you fix it. Now, again, MCU, start taking notes. Loki does what Loki does best. He shapeshifts. He transforms into a beautiful mare, gallops into the night, and lures Svathilfari away. Without his stallion, the builder can't finish the wall. His disguise shatters, revealing him as being a Jotnar, and before he can retaliate, Thor shows up and smashes his skull with Mjolnir. But the interesting part is when Loki returns, pregnant. He gives birth to the 8-legged horse Sleipnir, who later becomes Odin's steed. So I am guessing Loki was caught by the giant's steed and he decided to keep the steed busy while Thor takes care of things. It's one of the strangest and funniest stories in Norse myth, where the gods get out of trouble through deception and Freyja's beauty nearly costs her her freedom yet again. And of course, Loki saves the day by being Loki. Let's be honest, nobody did anything, but Loki takes the prize. Another interesting story comes from the Prose Edda, and it's about a giant named Hrungnir who gets way too comfortable in Asgard. After a few too many drinks of the god's finest ale, he starts boasting loudly that he'll tear down Valhalla, take Freyja and Sif as his wives, and rule over the gods themselves. While the other gods seethe, Freyja remains composed. She's the only one brave enough to serve the drunken giant another horn of ale, and her calm defiance is in stark contrast to his arrogance. Eventually, Thor storms in and challenges Hrungnir to a duel. The next day, Hammer meets Stone Skull, and Hrungnir learns the hard way that bragging in Asgard never ends well. The story captures a lot in a very short space. Freyja's courage and composure, her role as a prized and powerful figure, and how her mere presence tends to trigger chaos among gods and giants alike. Another interesting story is Hyndlolioth, one of the Poetic Edda's lesser known gems. In this one, Freyja takes on the role of protector and guide. Riding her golden bristled boar called Hildisvini, she travels to the giantess Hyndla to trace the ancestry of her mortal champion Öttar. When Hilda mocks her for traveling with a lover, Freyja coldly replies that her companion is no man at all, just her enchanted boar forged by clever dwarves. She then persuades the giantess to recite Öttar's full bloodline and bless him with memory beer so he'll never forget it. It's a short, strange and beautiful story, part myth, part genealogy, showing Freyja not as a lover or warrior, but as a keeper of memory and guardian of legacy. In Egil's saga, one of Iceland's most powerful family sagas, Freyja briefly appears, not in battle or myth, but in grief. When Thorgerth, daughter of the warrior poet Egil Skallagrimsson, mourns her brother's death, she refuses to eat, saying, "No meal will I take until I sup with Freyja." This single line reveals something profound, that Freyja's afterlife, Folksvangr, wasn't just for warriors, but also for women and families who longed for union and peace. It's a quiet, human moment in the sagas, one that paints Freyja not as a goddess of seduction or sorcery, but as a comforter of the mourning and a divine refuge for the weary. There are lesser known myths and motifs that we are going to touch upon because they are very revealing when it comes to Freyja's portfolio. Let's talk about her tears of gold and amber. When Freyja mourns her wandering husband Uther, she weeps tears that turn to gold upon touching the land and turn to amber upon touching the sea. Skaldic poets even use Freyja's tears as a poetic way to say treasure. It's both tragic and beautiful. for her grief literally enriches the world. Another important motif is her cats and boar. Freyja rides a chariot pulled by cats, symbols of both independence and the peace of household. And sometimes she mounts a golden bristled boar named Hildisvini. Together they show her dual nature, fierce as a boar in war, gentle in hearth and home. Another important aspect is that of love and autonomy. Freyja's love life stirs gossip even among the gods. Loki even once mocked her in Lokasena for her affairs, but Freyja owned her choices. She's a goddess of desire without shame. Passion as power, not weakness. Another important motif is that of the giants and the suitors. Giants constantly try to claim her. Thrym, Hrungnir, and even the master builder of Asgard. Each time Freyja became the ultimate prize, reminding us that even gods treated her as a bargaining chip. And she hated it, and every time she fought it, and they had to find a different solution. Another important motif is that of the wealth and cult. Because her tears became gold and her daughters' names meant treasure, Freyja was honored as a goddess of prosperity. Archaeologists have found numerous places named something along the lines of Freyjuhof, meaning Freyja's temple, all across Scandinavia and the Viking world. Farmers prayed to her for good harvest, while women, in particular, prayed for love and childbirth. Seeresses invoked her during seiðr rituals. Even after Christianity spread, people whispered her name in secret charms, the lady who never truly left. Now let's talk about Freyja in fantasy and TTRPGs. If you want a goddess who's equal part beauty, battle and witchcraft, Freyja is your go-to. Her myths are basically a ready-made campaign setting. She's a goddess of the afterlife. While Odin claims the fallen in Valhalla, Freyja rules Folkvangr, the field of the people. It's easy to imagine a cleric or a paladin trying to prove themselves worthy of her whole, because remember, she got the first pick while Odin got the leftovers. She had higher standards, so it's easy to see a cleric or a paladin trying to get into her halls, not necessarily in Valhalla. It's okay to get to Valhalla, but it's better to get to Folkvangr. Or you can imagine a moment in your game where players must bargain for a hero spirit she already claimed. Maybe a companion, maybe a trusted NPC. And she does not want to give it back unless your players pay the price. She was also mistress of seiðr. As the one who taught Odin his magic, Freyja is the perfect patron for sorcerers, bards or warlocks. Her spells twist fate, reveal prophecy or reshape the body itself. In your game, her followers might weave destiny like threads of gold or pay the price when the pattern unravels. Even her necklace can be an anchor for an entire adventure. It is a relic of passion, a symbol of greed, or a key to forgotten magic perhaps. Recovering it might demand sacrifice, the kind that tends to test what your heroes truly value. On the other hand, another inspiration is the constant demand for her hand from giants, and the gods trying to trade her away. Maybe they were trying to get rid of her, maybe that's also an option, but they did a very poor job at it, or at least hiding it. Imagine a quest where players must save a beloved NPC from being bartered away like Freyja, disguises, deception and divine politics included. But I think one of the most interesting and one that can truly spark your imagination is the idea of the tears of gold. Her sorrow creates treasure. But what happens when mortals mine her tears? What happens when they dig too deep just to retrieve her tears? Imagine gold that bleeds sorrow, amber that whispers regret. It's the perfect cursed loot for your next campaign. She's also a complicated patron. Freyja isn't a flawless goddess. She's real, she's passionate, she's jealous, she's cunning and kind. A divine ally who might bless your heroes one day and test the hell out of them the next. Serving her means walking the razor's edge between love and power. In conclusion, Freyja isn't just another goddess, she's every contradiction made divine. A Vanir among the Aesir, a lover and a warrior, a weeper whose tears turn to gold. She commands magic older than Odin, rides with cats and boars, and welcomes the fallen into her golden field of rest. She's the spark that proves power and tenderness can coexist, that beauty doesn't mean weakness, and that desire doesn't cancel strength. Her myths shimmer with agency, grief, and raw humanity. A goddess who loves fiercely, fights even harder, and never apologizes for either. For world builders and storytellers, Freyja reminds us that the most compelling divine figures are the ones that feel human. They are flawed, emotional, unforgettable. So when you craft your next pantheon, maybe skip the perfect goddess and give your players one who they can relate to. One that can cry, but she's divine so she cries gold. One who can curse kings and also change the fate of worlds. Somebody relatable. Somebody flawed. And with that, if this dive into golden tears, cat chariots, and one goddess who can outfight, outlove, and outmagic just about everyone in the 9 realms gave you a spark of inspiration or a campaign idea, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, toss a like my way, and ring that bell like you're calling down a thunder god. Got a favorite Norse deity, wild Valkyrie, or mythic troublemaker you'd like me to cover next? Drop it in the comments below, or just stop by and say hi. I always love hearing from you. Thank you so much for the gift of your time. Until next time, have yourselves a radiant, rune-etched, funky day, and trust your own awesomeness. Cheers.